Bethany Manktalow here. Welcome to our Millwall fan show with some new voices, but the same focus. Just everything Millwall. Enjoy!
Hello everybody and welcome to the 2024-25 series of Millwall's No One Likes Us Talking's Our Millwall Fan Show. I'm your host, Myles G Thornton, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Phil Coleman, Dave Hart and Ted Robertson.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Get ready for an exciting celebration tomorrow. It's the 50th anniversary of the 26th of April 1975, and that's a really special milestone. The person who holds that special date will be at the Den, so watch out and see what unfolds. Millwall had some fantastic news to share this Thursday. They've partnered with 11 Sports Media as the official front of shirt sponsor for the Millwall Lionesses first team, starting with a long-term deal from the 2025-26 season. This partnership highlights their commitment to supporting the club's rich community ties and advancing women's football. 11's investment will play a crucial role in supporting the Millwall Community Trust, which is making a real difference by providing a pathway for young female footballers to develop and thrive on their journey. Brilliant. For further details, check out the Millwall Community Trust or the club's websites. A great bounce back from our defeat at Blackburn was beating Norwich 3-1 at the Den on Easter Monday. With 2 games to go, we're now mathematically still within a chance of a playoff spot. The loss of our goalkeeper Lucas Jensen ahead of Blackburn for what appears to be an extensive period, believed to be 9 months, was a dent to our form. He wasn't the only one. Joe Bryan also had an injury which made him miss out at Ewood Park and against Norwich. Ted, good evening mate.
Good evening, Myles.
Well, you was at Ewood Park and you was at the Den this Easter. What would you say, apart from winning the latter, were the differences between the 2 games?
Well, one we lost and one we won. That was look, Ewood Park. I think, like everybody else, I was a bit shocked to see the news, and I feel for Lucas Jensen. I understand he's done his Achilles, fractured his Achilles, which will be about 9 months, I would think. And obviously we had no backup because Roberts has got an injury at the moment. So the young lad, George Evans, who, by the way, I don't think had much chance with any of the goals, was thrown in. But the trouble is, and I think Phil will be able to tell you more about this than me, but even in my standard of football, your back four and your goalkeeper are all one you're all one team altogether, but that's your knit. And to lose someone like that, I thought at times the boys looked like they was trying to protect him. And when you start not concentrating on what your job is and trying to protect somebody else, I think it's led to what I considered goals that we could have prevented that we didn't at Norwich. So it finished up being, although up until half time we had as many chances as them and it could have been anything, afterwards in the second half we just sort of more or less fell apart a little bit. So it was disappointing, but I've got to say I was so impressed with the way they bounced back against Norwich. And I thought Norwich was probably our best performance of the season. It was very close to it anyway. And yeah, it's strange. I mean, if I could put my finger on why you could have one performance like that and the other like that and even it out, I'd be in the Premiership managing the team, because it was more or less the same people, but obviously a completely different result. But what a day Monday was, because every result went for us as well. So we're now back in it with a shout. So, but yeah, fantastic performance against me. I was disappointed with Blackburn, but thankfully we bounced back and showed what we can do.
Agreed, Ted. Agreed. Phil, good evening, mate.
Evening, Myles.
From my perspective, I believe the Blackburn result was a minor setback due in part to forced changes, as Ted sort of explained there. However, it did lead to some people on social media claim that it demonstrated Alex Neil's lack of quality to lead us, reinforcing their argument of our heavy defeat at Plymouth. Is this a realistic assumption considering your professional experience in the game?
No, it's not realistic at all. And I agree with Ted. Your goalkeeper and back four, you build partnerships. The right side centre back builds a partnership with his right back. And right the way across the back four, and you have to be consistent. So when you lose your keeper, when you lose a left back, it takes some juggling around, and you have to build new partnerships, and it's not easy. Alex Neil came in just after Christmas, and the club was, I think, below mid-table. I think I remember one win in about 8-9 games. and it is tough going in mid-season. You're going right in the middle of the season. The games are coming thick and fast over the new year. You've got to get to know the ground, the training ground, the routines. You've got to find out the players. You really have got to work out the players. Then you've got to find a way to play, or shall I say, find the players, or get the players to play your way. And he's come in with a proven track record in the Championship. He's won lots of games, and he's got a record of developing players. And for me, I looked it up this afternoon. Alex has led us to 12 wins, 4 draws and 8 losses. That's 40 points and a 50% win rate. Well, 50% win rate in any league is outstanding. He's got a young squad. He's had some tough injuries to deal with. He's had suspensions, obviously a highlighted one at Crystal Palace. And he's trying to mould the squad how he wants them to play. And there will be poor games like Blackburn, like Plymouth. But there's one thing that the players have bounced back, and they've proven they can bounce back because they don't have run after run of defeats. But also that's the Championship. And I've said on this programme before, the Championship is brutal. Unless you are 100% bang on it, you're going to get done. And if you're not quite there and you have injuries and dropouts before Blackburn, you get done. And to use another word, consistent. The team has to be consistent. It's okay to lose, but if you're consistently picking up points, you're going to be in and around the playoffs. And I would say as well, let's judge Alex Neil after he's had his own summer, where he's had his pre-season, where he might have got a couple of players in to strengthen the team. He might let a few go. And then let's see how he kicks off. And if we're chomping at the bit and we are improved after about 10 games, then we can start judging Alex Neil. But he's come in at a really tough time. And for me, he's done a great job.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Phil. Dave, good evening.
Evening, Myles.
Easter Monday saw a great result, which buoyed fans, players and staff alike. Was there much said by players about defeating Norwich at the annual Millwall Awards dinner, which you regularly attend?
The dinner was a fantastic evening and a great new venue. But speaking to the players around the room during that evening, everybody was absolutely buzzing to be back within a chance of actually securing the playoffs. There was no doubt in anybody's mind as far as what I could pick up. Every player we spoke to was looking forward to basically 2 wins, and I think their attitude and response to the Blackburn defeat was obviously in their minds during the evening. Plenty to talk about on that. The awards evening, Alex Neil actually summed it all up when he said when he came into the club, he was a bit aware of what the club was like, and he said having seen the rivalry between Rangers and Celtic in Scotland, he realised that being at Millwall, that everybody actually hates us. And he said it's absolutely great. So he expects to get 6 points. When I spoke to him, he's looking at 2 wins. So let's hope he's right and we get those 2 wins.
Yeah, Dave. I do love that story about Celtic Rangers and his when he found out that everybody really does hate us. But do we care? Absolutely not. We'll take a break there and hear about our sponsors, G&M Motors.
Hi, this is Jess Tuffield from G&M Motors. Operating from a modern and purpose-built facility in Milton Road, Gravesend, G&M Motors offers a complete range of new Honda cars and services. As well as new Hondas, we have an extensive range of used cars, including ex-Motability cars from a variety of manufacturers. Specialising in new Honda cars, G&M Motors has been retailing quality new and used vehicles to the people of Kent and South East London for over 4 decades. We have been a Honda dealership since 1972 and are the country's longest serving supplier of this renowned marque. Conveniently sited just 2 miles from the A2, 10 miles from the M25 and Dartford Crossing, visitors to our showroom are assured a warm welcome from our experienced and friendly staff. Our facilities include an on-site workshop capable of providing full vehicle servicing and repairs, as well as an extensive parts department offering genuine Honda parts and accessories. The expertise of our skilled mechanics is not limited to just Hondas, but extends to most makes and models of motor vehicles. Whatever your motoring needs, visit us at G&M Motors today. The newly extended hours of our G&M headquarters means that you can contact us from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturdays. To contact us, call us today on 01474 365 026.
Thank you, Jess. Debbie Julian's here. Don't forget to call Jess on 01474 81 3562. G&M Motors have been dear friends with the Julians family for over 4 decades now. From my dad Lenny to me, Debbie, Lions together.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the No One Likes This Talking team of Phil Coleman, Dave Hart and Ted Robertson. Many thanks to our sponsors, G&M Motors, while I've checked the Hondas out and see what else they have on site at Gravesend. Our first guest is a well-known former Lion who, along with our Phil Coleman, graced that talented youth side to FA Youth Cup victory. Despite being an Essex boy from Orsett in Essex, despite his birthplace, he played for the Irish Republic under-21s on 12 occasions. He joined Millwall as a youth player. With us, he went on to play 102 games in our first team over 2 terms at the Den between 1978 to 81 and from 1984 to 86. Let's welcome Tony Kinsella.
Good evening, all.
Evening, Tony.
Tony.
Good evening. Evening.
Hello, Tom. Phil here.
Tony, we're delighted to have you back on the show. You're a true favourite of the panel tonight, especially for Phil Coleman, with whom you've shared the field and some great coaching moments. Could you share who the standout players and characters were at the club during your time with us? By the way, I've muted Phil just for now.
When I joined, obviously, Big Kitch was a big part of the club when I walked into it. And I think as a young player coming into the club, he was a talisman. But I think being a left-sided player and a left-footed player, I think the person I really warmed to and watched was Phil Walker. Lovely left foot, lovely lad, very humble boy, and him and John Seasman were probably the two boys I really looked at as role models.
Hi, Tony. It's Ted here.
Hey, Ted.
All right, mate. Just finding out that you grew up in Essex, it was just making me wonder, mate, how did you find an Essex boy find his way to Millwall as a young player? I'd also love to know about your journey through the ranks from schoolboy to being in the Millwall senior team.
Well, it's funny, Ted, because where I was born, this is a West Ham manor, to be fair, where I was born. It was all West Ham and mainly Arsenal supporters.
You could say see the light, Tone. You see the light.
Yeah, that's it, Ted. No, but what it was, mate, it was I was brought up with Paul Allen. We played in the same district side, the same county side, and Paul's uncle Les Allen, as you know, played for Tottenham. So as youngsters, we were training at Tottenham, Arsenal, West Ham, but I think the thing for me, and more than anything, when I was training for all these clubs, was I was looking at it, and it wasn't until Bob Pearson really appeared on the scene that I really looked at the Mill situation, and I thought to myself, I'm going to go along there, train at Millwall, have a look to see what the situation is. And Bob, all along the journey, Bob was assuring me that he was getting a good group of young boys together from different parts. I mean, there's Kevin from Essex, Paul Roberts, Essex, Dave Martin, and there was a few others. But after training there a few times, I looked at it and I thought to myself, this could be the start of a group of young boys that could do a little bit. Because I could see by training there that majority of them were talented boys; they could all play. So that was the main reason that I'd come down to Millwall, was mainly because looking at the lads, I could see there was a lot of talented boys, but it was mainly to do with Bob Pearson, Ted, if I'm honest.
You never mentioned Phil there in the talented one, but we won't go into that just yet, son.
I agree, though.
Phil was a header and a kicker, but he was all right.
It was all right.
I wasn't talented. I just destroyed people.
That's a talent in its own.
I'll take that.
Hi, Tony. It's Dave here.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, mate. When you made your Football League debut, who did you play against in that game? And what memories do you have of that day?
I made my debut at the Den, 17. It was against Wrexham. Don't really remember much about the game, Dave, if I'm honest. I think it was a really wet night. It was a miserable night. I remember sitting in the dugout and George Petty saying to me, well, it's 20 minutes to go, son, 0-0. Can you go on and do a bit? And I looked at him and thinking, do a bit, I'll try. So I remember getting up out of the dugout, going down the old little bit of red grass by the pitch, getting stripped and going on. But it was, to be fair, it was a bit of a blur because it was only sort of 15, 20 minutes. So it just seemed to flash by, Dave, if I'm honest. I can't remember that much about it.
What about your full, when you started, your full game as a player?
Yeah, well, when I think it was exciting in the fact that we'd all started to break into the first team. I think, it wasn't as though I was going into a side with a lot of strangers. We'd all trained in and around the first team. We all knew that we were gradually getting introduced into the first team, and it was like walking back into the youth team because Phil had played, Mehmet had played, Paul Roberts had played, Callie had played. So there was a lot of us that sort of broke in and around that first team at the same time. So it wasn't foreign to me. I think it was just a situation where I looked at. And went into confident that I knew everyone in the side and just felt comfortable in that environment.
Phil, what did you think
about Tony?
Yeah,
talented, great left peg, works hard, and as Tony says, when you're in the environment and you're being supported by a manager who backs it, George Petty, he brought so many youngsters through. And you got big kids around, Phil Walker, Dave Donaldson, Tony Hazel, John Seasman. These players, John Mitchell came in later on. They were the people that sort of led the team. But it was comfortable being around your youth teammates. And we were playing against the first team when we were kids, and we were playing in with the first team, in and around it. And it was a really good transition. I found it quite easy, to be honest with you, Tony. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I felt the same, Phil. I think, like we've spoke before, it was just an environment we stepped into where, the senior boys were different class with us. There was no big time Charlies. I think, once you step into that, what the Millwall fans wanted. They wanted you to give 100%. And we were all honest boys who just went out and tried to work hard, and lucky enough, we had a little bit of talent about us. So, it was just as we know the story goes. It was just a shame that it was just broken up a little bit too soon.
It was amazing, Tony. If you look at some of the stats, there's games in probably 79, 80 where there was 8 youth team players in the first team. That's bonkers. We might have struggled.
Yeah, but as we spoke about before, Phil, I think in the history of football and the history of youth teams, and we've said this many a time to each other and to other members of the squad, that I don't think there's many youth teams in the history of the game that every single member of that youth team has gone on and played in the first team.
Yeah, it's 13 out of 13. All signed pro and all played in the first team. That's unbelievable.
And it may never happen again, Phil. But the thing is, we come into a football club that that supporters were different class. They were hard at times, but I always felt they were fair.
Yeah.
If you was having a bad game, they'd let you know in no uncertain terms. But if you were doing well, they was with you 100%. Which I've always found that the Millwall supporters, good, very good.
Yeah, you put a shift in, you work hard, you get their support. Even if you get beat, they just want to see you grafting and working and putting the shift in for the team, don't they? So
100%, mate. Yeah, that's all they want.
Yeah, I'll move on, Tone. Good to see you at Doctor's Day at the Den. We celebrated our good mate Dave Mehmet, Mem as we call him. I spoke about Mem quite a few times on here over the last year since we lost him. And the last time I spoke, it went out on Maritime Radio. But Tone, what's your most endearing memories of Mem? You got any good stories and those nice memories?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Mem was, we was all devastated when we lost him. But growing up with him, we played against some talented kids in the youth teams, your kids from Everton and Man City, and we played against your Crystal Palaces when they were the top youth team. But I don't think I ever played or come across a boy with as much talent as Mem. He was special, Mem, and I was lucky enough to spend some time when we went out in Tampa with him, or quite a bit of time. And I remember turning up at the airport when we flew out to Tampa, and we had to meet up with big Frank Worthington, and he was going out, and obviously Frank had his career, where me and Mem were just starting out. And I remember Frank saying to the pair of us as we were waiting to board, he said to myself and Mem, so what are you looking forward to, boys? For two young boys to start out in Tampa is very unusual. It's normally a end of season affair. So, we said to him about the financial situation at Millwall, and this is the reason we were out here. But I remember Mem turning around to Frank, and he says to Frank, well, the two things I'm really looking forward to is playing against Naskins and George Best. So Frank says to Mem and myself, well, he said, I know George. He said, when we play San Jose, that's where George is playing at the time, he said, I'll introduce you to him. So, I mean, Mem was like a dog with two, whats, and he, and all on the plane going out there, I'm sitting there, and Mem kept saying to me, "Going to meet Bestie, Tone," and I said, "Yeah, I know, Mem." I said, "Let's get out there, and we can meet George whenever we play him." Well, we play New York Cosmos at home, and about 70,000 people there. And Gordon Jago names the side, and myself and them are playing in the centre of the park. We hadn't been out there long, and he names the New York Cosmos side. And he said in centre midfield for Cosmos, they'll be playing a lad called Bogovic, who's a Yugoslavian full international. Every year he gets into the All-Stars American team. Fantastic left foot, good player. He said alongside him will be Naskins. He said Dutch international. He said rated one of the best midfield players in the world. So anyway, we're changing, and John Coleman, who was the captain at the time, loved a bit of banter, and he come over to me and Mem, and he looked at us and he went, "All the best, boys." He said against them two in midfield, and started laughing and walked off. So as we're going out onto the pitch, the girls are there with the old pom-poms, and we're walking out onto the pitch. Mem's in front of me. Mem turns round to me, and it's like, I'm absolutely crapping myself, I've got to be honest. And I'm walking out on the pitch, and Mem's looked at me, and he's gone, "Listen," he said, "forget about Bogovic and Naskins." He said, "Let's show them we're two boys from Millwall, and we can play a bit." We win the game 2-1. Mem gets man of the match. Unbelievable. I remember coming off the pitch, looking at him, thinking, "Wow, what a player!" And that's my memory of Mem. And the other thing that struck me about Mem growing up with him is that reputations meant nothing to him. He knew he was as good as anything he played against, and that was Mem.
Great, Tone. Brilliant, mate. Thanks for that.
Yeah, Member's a fantastic player and he's missed by lots of people. Anyway, Tony, it's Dave again. Of all the people you played against, who was the toughest you played against?
Oh, there was a few. I remember being at Ipswich and coming on against Liverpool, Pullman Road, and within 5 minutes, the ball gets played out to me. I'm just about to control it, and Souness has absolutely cleaned me, nearly snapped me in half. And as I'm on the pitch, he's above me saying, what are you doing on the pitch? Does your mum know you're here? And that was probably the hardest. I think the best player I ever played against was probably Hoddle. Hoddle, we played at White Hart Lane, Ipswich against Tottenham. They beat us 3-1. Hoddle was just different. He was just different. I mean, you couldn't get near the fella. I mean, people used to annoy me when they used to say about Hoddle, he can't tackle, he can't run. They didn't tell you what he could do. I mean, he could drop a ball 60, 70 yards over the top of people on a sixpence. He just had 2 great feet, great vision. It was just for me, people talk about Gascoigne, but I think for me, Hoddle's up there with one of the most talented English players ever.
Yeah, great stuff, Tony.
I'll tell you what, Tony, the names that you're rolling out here, they're world-class people, aren't they? And I love that story about you two being 2 Millwall boys. Let's go and show them we can play. But he was a fantastic player. But you weren't so bad yourself, Tony, by the way. It was pretty decent, as I remember rightly.
Thanks, mate. Yeah.
I feel I don't remember
Thanks,
so much.
mate.
You and them, I do. You was you was pretty good, mate. But I've got to tell you, you've had an extensive coaching background as well. Most recently with dear old Phil, who I'm not sure was he as good a manager as he was a player? That might be. But at Braintree, I believe, in the National League. So.
Yeah, we've done a bit this year. Said with Braintree. I mean, Phil more so than myself. I mean, I was getting involved with the coaching. I mean, I'd done a little bit at Ipswich because I had to do all the UEFA badges because I was working in the academy for 3 years, and then just potting around non-league football until I got a phone call off Phil. And Phil said, "Would you like to get involved at Braintree?" Tone, and I just said, "Yeah, I'll come along, Phil, and give you a hand." And I started going along with Phil, putting a few sessions on, working with the boys, really enjoying it. And then I had to step away from it because my youngest daughter, I've got 3 daughters, and my youngest daughter got married out in South Africa. So I had to step aside and knock it on the head for a little bit, really. But yeah, I mean, the Braintree thing at that level where Phil's working is decent because it's a good standard, good players, decent crowds, and it's really like the 5th football league, isn't it? Really, the National League. It's a decent standard.
How's your mindset on formations and things, Tone? Because I mean, we all know that football's changed a lot, and that. But I think I've spoken with Phil about it before. I think we're the same. Sometimes it gets a bit overcomplicated, in my opinion, about formations and whatever. It still comes down to having players that can play it in a certain way and go out and do it.
100% Ted. I think there's never been a system that's won a game of football. The game's all about players. I mean, you can set out 4-5-1, 4-3-3, whatever system, but you've got to pick a system that suits your players. I mean, it's no good having a centre forward that's great in the air if you play 200 passes and don't go nowhere and you get the ball wide and don't deliver it in the box for him to attack. I mean, the boy Ivanovic, he looks a player. So does the boy Coleman. But the thing is, they need service. So, I'm a great believer in mixing it up. And I think me and Phil have spoken about this. I mean, what people don't realise about Man City when they're watching play, they think it's all tippy-tappy possession football. But when you watch Man City, the amount of times that De Bruyne over the years has knocked the ball long in behind the opposition's back four for Haaland to chase. To be fair to Alex Neil, I think I watched some of his his games when he was manager at Norwich, and he's done well at Sunderland. And what I like about him, and I did like about him as a manager, is the fact I don't think he's worried about changing formations, and if he thinks he needs to add strikers to the scene, he does it. As he's come on against Middlesbrough when we didn't really look as though we were going to score goals first half, and it's completely changed the game second half, and we've ripped Middlesbrough to pieces, to be fair, second half. So I think there's too much emphasis on systems. I think it's all about just getting the best out of the players you've got and putting them in a system or a pattern of play where home and away, like Phil's just said about being consistent, you know what you're going to get from your players.
Totally agree, Tom. Totally agree.
Tom, you've just answered my next question, because I was going to ask you about the Middlesbrough game and what you thought Alex Neil and Harry managed it, but we've done it, mate. Brilliant. So, what's your thoughts on Alex Neil? Do you know much about him, Tom?
Yeah, I know a little bit about him, Phil, because like living down here in Ipswich, I used to cover a lot of the Norwich games for the press, and and when he was in charge in Norwich, he's done a great job. I mean, I like him. I think he does like possession football, but he doesn't mind the ball in behind the opposition, which I like. I think it asks, as you know, being a back four player, the last thing you want to be seeing is the ball going over the top of your head and you're chasing back towards your own goal. So I think if you can mix it up, which I think he does, he done well at Sunderland. I know the Preston and Stoke situation didn't really work out for him, but I do like him, Phil, and I think given time, I think he could be the answer to the situation, and I still think we've got a chance. I think we'll beat anyone at the Den. Swansea won't be fancy coming there Saturday, and Burnley away. Yeah, are they in party mode? Will they fancy it? But I look at the fixtures, and I mean, Coventry have got to go to Luton, who are desperate for points, and beat Bristol City last week. They've got Middlesbrough, last game of the season. Bristol City have got to go to Leeds yet. I know they've got Preston at home last game of the season, but there's opportunities. And Middlesbrough. I mean, at the end of the day, they've got Coventry. They've got to play Coventry away. So. I still think if we beat Swansea Saturday, I think it could be interesting. Last game of the season.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Yeah, thanks for that. Great stuff.
Tony, amazing stuff and some amazing stories in that. Before you go, there's Ted's Prediction League. We ask you to share your predictions for 3 championship scores at the season's end, which isn't actually very far away. We'll see who has the best score predicting skills among the guests and hosts. I can tell you now, I'm nowhere near the top. Ted, over to you, mate.
Yeah, well, I am. I'm quite close to the top, Tone, actually. But there you go, smart.
Oh, yeah?
It's not that I know anything, Tone, really. But here we go, Tone. You mentioned a couple of the games anyway. Of course, this week I've had to focus on ourselves and having the opportunity of getting in the playoffs. So the first game that I've gone with is obviously our beloved Lions. How'd you see that one going? Millwall Swansea. What do you reckon on that one? Tom?
I think it would be Swansea, Ted. I think that'd be 3-0 to us.
I do hope so. But they are the form team though, Zone, in the division. They've won their last.
Yeah,
5
but I mean, you look at our last few results at home. I'd fancy anyone at the Den, mate. I really would.
I've got to be honest, Zone. I'm happier against the side coming there that's won their last 5 games than I am the side that's just lost their 5 games. That's Millwall, isn't it? Okay,
yeah, it is, mate.
3-0 for that. But second game was the one that you mentioned, Luton at home to Coventry. How'd you see that one going?
Well, that'd be interesting. I think if I'm Frank Lampard, after seeing Luton beat Bristol City the other day, I think that'd be a tough game for Coventry. I'd take Luton 2-1 there.
Yeah, of course, Coventry just lost to Plymouth as well, didn't they? So,
yeah.
I think I'm with you, mate. I think Luton are going to nick that one. And the last one, and this could be a strange one, really, is obviously the other team in amongst it is Middlesbrough, and they're at home to Norwich, who just sacked their manager after our
Yeah,
game.
see that could work. That could work in our favour because the Jack Wilshire's gone in as manager. There'll be players playing for their future. They'll want to put a shift in for the new boss. So I think a change of manager at Norwich might work in our favour. I'm going 1-1 there.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tone. I think exactly how you put it there. I don't think Norwich was as bad as we made them look, or the players ain't, but let's hope not. It'd be to our benefit, Tone, if that comes off like that.
Yeah, let's hope so, Ted, because I think that, looking at that Norwich thing, I think the thing about us, and I think Phil said it right, I think we just got to get a little bit of consistency. Middlesbrough game was different class, but I watched the Blackburn game and it was the complete opposite. You would have thought it was the same Millwall side, but let's hope the results go for us, Ted, and we've got a shout last game of the season.
Yeah, cheers, Tom.
Okay, mate.
Amazing. Tony, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been truly a pleasure to hear your amazing stories and thoughts about the modern game and the game back when you guys were playing. And we can't wait for Phil and you to appear on a long-awaited podcast together. Wishing you and yours all the best. Take care. And
thanks, Myles. All the best, fellas.
Yeah, cheers, Tony. All the best, mate. Catch up soon.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.
Cheers, pal.
We'll take a break there and hear about Ellie Millicent talking about Harvey's Den Cafe.
Hi, Ellie. Lovely to see you here up in Harvey's Den again. Tell me, what goes on? When are you here? What can we expect?
We're here Monday to Friday from 10:30 till 5 every day, open to the public. Everyone's welcome. We're open every match day from 11:30 till 2:30, and the girls up here are all lovely and friendly.
So what's on offer at the cafe these days?
We've got everything from chicken burgers to paninis to full breakfasts, tea, coffee, hot chocolate, soft drinks, snacks, everything you could need.
So it's all here, all available, a great team to serve it up to you. Well, what else can I say but carry on in Harvey's style here at Harvey's Den Cafe, and all the best to you, Ellie, and your team, and I look forward to coming up and enjoying some of the fare in not the far distant future. Well, in fact, I've already done that. The coffee is just super. Thanks, Ellie.
Thanks, Eamon.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the Noah Lights Talking team of Ted Robinson, Dave Hart and Phil Coleman. Harvey's Den Cafe is located upstairs of the Lions Centre, a Millwall Community Trust home on Ballina Road, 50 yards from the club shop. Great food and reasonable prices. Now then, let's hear from Ellis Barr.
Hello, Ellis here, and I'm glad to be back talking about Millwall. I know many have watched my videos. Thanks for your support along the way. It is now time to hear what all the Millwall teams are up to. Come on, Millwall!
Thanks as always, Ellis. Paul Loding brings us the Millwall Romans and Pride update for the week.
Hi, it's Paul Loding at the Millwall Romans with a quick update. Nothing to report from the football side of things, apart from the big fixtures, I should say, this weekend, with Romans playing against Stonewall and Pride playing against Charlton, both to be played at the Den, with Romans kicking off at 2 p.m. and Pride kicking off at 5 p.m. That's going to be a really, really good afternoon. Tickets are free and the bar is open, I'm told. A few of us did get a chance to attend the Millwall end of season player awards again, which, as always, it's a great privilege to be there amongst all the first team players. And it was good. It was a really, really good evening, and we wish them well, obviously, in the last two games of the season. Predictions wise this week, I've been told that I'm in with a good chance of winning this, and I'm quite competitive. So, right, Millwall Swansea, I'm going to say Millwall are going to nick that 1-0. Luton Coventry. I think Coventry might take that. I'm going to say Coventry 1-0. And Middlesbrough Norwich. I'm going to say Norwich 1-0 as well on that one.
Well, Paul, I would have been that competitive if I realised Ted was paying for the winner to go to New York for pie and mash. The Lionesses had a weekend break, but congratulations to our shirt-sponsored Lioness, Kira Watling, for being voted their Player of the Year. Ted looks forward to receiving your shirt as you're also the leading goal scorer. maybe he'll take Kira Watling to New York as well.
It's New Cross, Miles. I keep telling people, New Cross, not New York.
Well, the excitement is building as we prepare to face Swansea this Saturday at 3 p.m. at the Den. In October, we had a thrilling game at the Swansea.com stadium, celebrating a fantastic victory, all thanks to incredible goalkeeping by Lucas Jensen and Denore's late goal against Swansea, his second in successive seasons there. This Saturday, we'll be up against a revitalised Swansea squad who recently achieved their 5th consecutive championship win by defeating QPR on Monday by 2-1, enhancing Alan Sheehan's prospects of taking the reins permanently. Under Sheehan's leadership, they've secured 7 wins and only 2 losses in his last 11 matches since stepping in as caretaker boss after Luke Williams was let go in February. They also had 5 clean sheets in a row, if it weren't for Karamoko Dembele's late goal for Rangers, which was actually their first shot on target. What an impressive turnaround. They're now finishing the season much closer to the playoffs than the relegation zone, only 6 points shy of the top 6. On the bookies front, we're 5-4 favourites for a win. A draw is 2-1 and a Swansea win is 9-4. Better odds than we've had for a while in our favour. We hope that the starting lineup will closely reflect that which defeated Norwich. Just a quick reminder that when you're making the predictions, you and I can't predict the same score. So, what do we think, everyone? Are we hoping for a positive result, or could it go another way? Ted, over to you.
Right, obviously the first one is Millwall Swansea. By the way, I was at the dinner as well, and I echo what Dave said. Every player I spoke to, which is a nice thing to hear, had very good words to say about Alex Neil. And let's hope that, we have a strong and fit enough squad to take Swansea on, which isn't going to be an easy game by, obviously, you can tell by their form. But I've gone for Millwall to beat Swansea 2-1. So, first up, Phil, what do you reckon, mate?
I normally get done as the last to pick, so I've got a choice here, haven't I? So I'll have 2-0.
2-0, that's not a bad shout, actually. But
cool.
Dave, what do you reckon?
First. I have missed this show.
Sorry, mate. Go on, Dave.
I'm going to go 1-0.
1-0 to the Lions, and that leaves you then, young Miles.
Yeah, I feel Ted's pain here. No, not Ted. Who is it? Phil. Phil is pain here. I'll go 3-1.
3-1. Let's hope so. Second up, I'll stick with the same format. Shall I, Phil? Luton versus Coventry. I've gone 2-1 to Luton.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with Luton as well. I'll probably go 2-0 to Luton. It's going to be a tough game there for Coventry.
Yeah, I must admit, I did say to Eamon when I wrote my scores out, I'm going with my heart more than my head. But I don't know. I think Coventry and Frank Lampard could be suffer under the pressure. What do you reckon, Dave?
Again, a 1-0 to Luton.
To Luton?
Luton.
Yeah, Luton, yeah. 1-0 for Dave. And you, Miles?
Oh, Dave, you took my prediction there, mate. Okay, I'll go 1-1.
1-1. Rightio. Right, we'll swap it round here then and go with you first, Miles, for the last one, which is Middlesbrough versus Norwich, and I've gone for a 2-0 Norwich victory.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Jack Wilshere will lead Norwich to a win and help us out. I'll go 1-0 Norwich.
1-0 Norwich. Phil?
Borough at home are formidable. Big crowd behind them. Norwich coming off our defeat. I'm going to go Borough 3-0.
3-0 to the Borough. Dave?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hard game for both sides. Dodgy, the Middlesbrough are strong at home, as Phil said. I would take a 1-1.
1-1 draw. That's not a bad shout, neither. But I do think Norwich are going to put up the fight this week a lot better than what they did against us, because after a defeat like that, most sides, and I'm hoping it continues, tend to bounce back. So, yeah, there we go. Over to you, Miles.
Thanks for that. We also have predictions from Nick Wythe of the Millwall Facebook and Sicily site. Let's hear what Nick predicts.
Hello everyone, this is Nick Wythe. My predictions are Millwall 2, Swansea 0, Luton 1, Coventry 1, and Middlesbrough 2, Norwich 0. Thanks.
Thanks, Nick. We also want to thank Dave Hart, who collates the results. It's always intensely amusing since we can never predict the same results. We'll now present Phil Coleman's Tales from the Brut Room.
Hello again, Phil Coleman here with some tales from the Brut Room. As we've just had the end of season awards, and my congratulations to all the winners, Japhet Tanganga in particular has been brilliant and so consistent this season. So a worthy winner of 3 awards, including the one I personally hold the highest, the Players' Player of the Year. There's nothing better than your teammates recognising your efforts across the season. But back in my playing days, I can't remember attending any Player of the Year awards. I remember the Player of the Year and the Young Player of the Year being presented with their trophies on the pitch at the last home game of the season. There was only Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year, but now there seems to be far more awards recognising things like Save of the Year, Porter's Player of the Year, and I've even seen Tackle of the Year. It's good that young players and others involved in the club are recognised for their efforts. In fact, from going to a couple of PFA awards, which were eventful and a great opportunity to see other teammates and friends from across the leagues, we had a few too many beers and wines. I can only remember 2 formal occasions that I attended with Millwall. The first one was laid on by Lewisham Council in 1979 after we won the FA Youth Cup. The whole team, manager, coaches, physio, we all attended a formal meeting, all suited and booted, which was unusual, to be recognised by the borough for our achievements. The second one was in 1987, and to celebrate the club's 100th year anniversary. Again, we're all suited and booted. The whole of the squad and staff from the 86-87 season went to a hotel in Park Lane for a posh meal, speeches. To be there was great, although I do remember driving back via Brick Lane to get myself a bagel in the bagel bake about 1 a.m, so I guess the food wasn't that substantial. One event I would love to see on the calendar would be a former players' dinner, with ex-players mingling and sitting on tables alongside fans. I know other clubs do it. They are successful, with players being interviewed, players making speeches, inductions into the Hall of Fame and more. Perhaps that will happen one day. My congratulations and big well done to all the winners for Millwall for this season, and I'll catch up soon. Bye for now.
Thanks for that, Phil. We'll take a break there and listen to Bethany explain how you can support the Millwall Community Trust.
The Millwall Community Trust is something that I, Bethany Manctolo, admire for all that it does. The Trust was established in 1985 to provide sporting, educational, social and healthy lifestyle opportunities to the local community in Southwark, Lewisham, North Kent and the wider community. Its work is targeted at people of all ages, irrespective of race, gender or sexual orientation, and runs programmes aimed at tackling social exclusion, racism, knife crime, lack of employment opportunities for young people, mental health and disability. The Trust aims to be a progressive and campaigning charity that makes a difference to ordinary people's lives. Its work is undeniably essential to the local community. Donating to the Millwall Community Trust is easy. Visit their website and click on the Get Involved section. There are also sponsorship opportunities. To support this work, email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again. That's commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. If you can, please help them to continue their vital work.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me are the No Licensed Talking team of Ted Robinson, Dave Hart and Phil Coleman. Your donation, no matter how big or small, will truly make a difference, allowing our Millwall Community Trust to provide outstanding programmes for people of all ages in our community. We're all looking forward to the next game, but in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest for Millwall fans and those interested in football.
Next week, we're shaking things up a bit. There won't be a Friday podcast show, but don't worry, Eamon Barclay will be hosting the live maritime radio show on 96.5 FM next Saturday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. You can also join us live on Maritime's website or catch up by playing it again later. The panel is going to be fantastic, featuring the adventurous, our very own Crocodile Dundee, Jeff Burnage, the ever-energetic Stan Goodwin, and our very own Maritime Matchday broadcaster, Gary Staff. It's going to be a great show.
The Millwall Lionesses are excited to welcome Ashford United women for their final match of the 2024-25 season campaign on Sunday, May the 4th, kicking off at 1:30pm at the Den. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to show your support for the Lionesses as they strive for the impressive turnout of 1,000 plus attendees. You can grab your tickets in blocks 41 to 44 of the Docker stand, where they're priced at just £5 for adults and £2 for under 18s. Tickets are available on the Millwall ticket site in the events list or by giving the ticket office a quick call on 0207 231 9999. That's 0207 231 9999. We really hope to see you there.
This Sunday is set to be an exciting day as we have not one but two thrilling London Unity League trophy finals at the Den. Kicking off at 2pm, the Millwall Romans will take on Stonewall in the LUL Cup final. Then at 5pm, get ready for a passionately contested local derby as Millwall Pride go head to head with Charlton Athletic for the LUL Plate Trophy. These games mean a lot more than just a competition. Let's rally together and show our support for our teams. Myles and everyone else can't wait to see you there.
Well, this might be our last show until the next season if we don't make the playoffs, so let's hope we don't miss out. In the meantime, tune in with the Norwich Lights Talking team as they bring you exciting updates from our games, whether we're on home turf or visiting, featuring Lions, Lionesses, Romans and Pride. Plus, stay in the loop with the latest Millwall community news. Enjoy all this fantastic content on Maritime Radio at 96.5 FM or hop over to their website. We're also thrilled to connect with you on Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, and all your favourite podcast platforms. A huge thank you to you, Dave.
Cheers all.
Thank you very much, Ted.
Cheers, Myles.
And thanks very much, Phil.
Yep, cheers, Myles and team.
And thanks everyone else for tuning in. Your support means a great deal. Finally, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Good night.
Our Millwall fan show is sponsored by G&M Motors of Gravesend, Honda dealers and much more. Thank you.